Hey, what's up, guys? It's Blake from Top Dog Digital. I have Hunter from Jump Magicians here with me today for you guys on the channel. Hunter, if you can, introduce yourself, let everybody know where you're located, what you do, and a little bit about the business you're running right now.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Blake. Thanks for having me. So my name's Hunter Jablonski. Currently have a location in Reno, Nevada, and we just opened a new one in Lexington, Kentucky. We do junk removal, and we're also heavy emphasis on demolition, site cleanups, stuff like that. We've been in business in Reno for 3 years. In Lexington, we've been in business just over 4 months now.
Yeah, so for you guys who are starting out or maybe trying to transition and opening a new location, this is going to be a really good interview for you guys to check out. Hunter is one of my best clients. I've been working with him for a long time, and there aren't many that I know that work harder than Hunter. So the success that he's been able to accomplish, keep in mind some of the things he's going to tell you guys today. It does include hard work. It's not going to be easy, but if you're willing to work hard at it, you can build some of the things that Hunter has built. And I don't even know if I think you're just scratching the surface, quite frankly. We talked about that. Some of the ways that you scale in the past year is kind of insane. So I
Yep.
can only imagine where you might be in the next year to 5 years. But something that I want to touch on for especially the guys who are a little bit newer and trying to build, because that's a lot of people who watch my channel. What's some advice that you would give to someone in that position just starting out based on the things that you've learned so far?
So just starting out, the biggest thing is you have to figure out if you want this to just be a gig to make some extra money on the side, or if you're really going hard at it. For me, I started this business when I was in college. I'm only 23 years old, and I knew right away I didn't want to be my own. I didn't want to work for anyone else. I wanted to be my own boss. So that brings me to my first part, and that is the second that you start your business, open a business credit account. Doesn't matter what credit card you use. Business credit is so huge. Just for example, in Reno, we have 3 trucks right now with a fourth one on the way. And we needed the trucks ASAP. I had no business credit, and I ended up having to pull some really, really sketchy loans from loan sharks, really, really high interest, and we ended up with old trucks. And now you look at us here in Lexington, my credit's established over the last year. We got approved for a 2018 F550 dump truck. We got approved for a brand new dump trailer, and we got approved for a 2023 Bobcat T450 skid loader. And it's already, the maintenance costs on it are just so much less than the other stuff. So the higher the credit is, the better equipment you're going to get, the less you're going to pay for the equipment, and the less maintenance that you're going to have. So that's definitely something to keep in mind there. The other biggest thing is the second that you start, you're going to want to join as many networking groups as you possibly can. Facebook is great, but for the high volume repeat customers that really makes you the most money. Facebook typically, sometimes you can get a couple, but it's typically not it. So some really good ones are BNI, YPN, BIA. Look in your area, see if there's an apartment association. We're members of the Reno Apartment Association and the Kentucky Apartment Association. Those are just great. They hold networking events every week, every month, whatever it is. Just a great way to network with like-minded business professionals. I'll tell you right now, in Lexington especially, as Blake will probably tell you on the calls, it's not instant with the ads. It's really not. And really what the ads are is just a way for you to get in front of the customer. You still need to do all the legwork. Go to the estimates, be communicative, break down the pricing structure and exactly what's going to happen in the service and all that kind of stuff. You got to answer the phone. That's another big one. But yeah, those right there are definitely some of the big ones. The other thing too is, when you do make a phenomenal connection, do not stop following up with that person. Don't take it personal if they don't call you the first time. Don't take it personal if they don't call you back. 9 out of 10 times they just forget about you because they're so busy. So if you inject yourself into their life, you're constantly talking with them, grabbing coffee, grabbing beer, sooner or later, you're going to get the opportunity to prove yourself. And if you do a great job, then you're in. I will say the other thing too, it's a big thing that business owners kind of overlook is how you handle adversity and how you handle problems. If you go and you do a service that's not to their specifications or it's not what they want, it's how you make it up to them and how you handle that issue that can really, really build a long-term relationship just based on that, not even the quality of service.
Yeah. All right. Well, you just dropped a bunch of gems. So I don't even know where to follow up on that because there was a couple of really good points that you made. I'll start off with the business credit. That's huge and underrated. A lot of people are coming in this with not a lot of funds to start the business, right? They're limited. And because of that, they can't really dive into marketing. They can't really dive into getting the right trucks and the things that they know they need to do, but quite frankly, don't have the funds to do so. Business credit is underrated in the ability to where if you can establish that, and even personal credit early, I would rather leverage business credit between the two. But if you have personal credit, that's better than not having any credit at all because you can leverage debt to help build the business, pay it back, and grow the business to scale.
Exactly.
That's a great point. I'm glad you mentioned the commercial outlook because that's you all the way. So Hunter is like the golden child of commercial, in my opinion, and what he does there. So to the point where Hunter actually has a guy who is dedicated to building those relationships for him in the Reno market. And in Lexington, I would imagine we'll have one probably at some point soon.
Soon. Yeah.
Some points to touch on what you said there. One, the way that you continue to approach them. I think some people make one kind of approach or, they send an email or call them or step foot in the office and then kind of give up from there. Right. Okay. I didn't hear from them back. I didn't hear back from them. They're not interested. And these guys are business owners too on the commercial side. So they are busy, and it doesn't mean you need to step foot once a day in there and drive them crazy. Be smart about it. But consistency is key. The more that you can get in front of them or do something for them, like you said, a coffee. What are some other things that you've done gift wise?
So just to touch on that, the other thing, going into offices can be great, but you have to know to talk to the right people. So typically what we do, and if you decide to go with Blake, he is a fantastic guy when it comes to sending out feeler emails. That is the biggest thing. Just having, even if they don't respond to the email, they'll recognize the logo, they'll recognize the company name when you come in the office because, they probably have a bunch of emails in their inbox from you. And what you're going to want to do is not talk to the front desk. You're going to ask if you could set up a meeting with someone who handles decisions in the maintenance department for property managers, or can I have a meeting with the general contractor who handles subcontractors, And then from there, you're going to try to get on their vendors list, which is basically them verifying your insurance, verifying your licensing in your state, whatever it is. And I do something called what I like to call the donut follow-up. So a really, really good thing that I do is I don't do it necessarily until I'm on the vendors list or until I've actually had a meeting where I can sit down and talk to someone face to face. But I'll just bring in a box of donuts and say, hey, we're a recently added vendor to your company. We would love the opportunity for you to give us a shot and, maybe potentially earn some business. Here's something to hopefully win you over. That's huge. Leave some cards next to the donuts. The other thing too is with a lot of these real estate companies and a lot of these, realtors and stuff like that, you got to think that they have an office somewhere with hundreds of other realtors. So one thing to really look at is affiliate programs with the realtors, because it can save you a ton of time versus going to the office versus just, hey, I want to come in and do a lunch and learn. That's a big thing. You present to the realtors, you bring lunch, and then say, is there any affiliate programs? They're usually anywhere from $100 to $250 a month, and it gives you access to every realtor, and you can go in the office whenever you want. Just take advantage of that. Stop in, talk to whoever you can, and go from there.
Yeah, that's really good. Another one that donuts are good. I've heard cheesecake. That's another one that I've heard.
I haven't tried that one. I'm gonna have to get you on.
If you ever drop by my office with cheesecake, we'll do business. I promise. But Yeah, and that's really been your focus there. I think is one of the main reasons that you scaled the way that you have in both locations. I mean, at this point, Lexington, you really haven't been there that long, like situated, like truly there that
Yeah.
long. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this year I anticipate, I don't know if we'll be at the $1 million run rate in Lexington for 2023. It's not impossible, but we'll definitely be high six figures there. And you spent what, a couple months there?
Yeah. I mean, we opened up officially. We did our first job. We didn't have any equipment. We didn't have anything. I had to rent every single thing that we had. But we did that in August, and then we really fully opened up in September, and we closed out the year at 100,000 out here.
Yeah, I mean that's
Oh,
insane. Literally with nothing built out there,
yeah.
and of course your expertise from Reno obviously helped. Knowing what you need to do to build that out, right?
Yes.
And that's the use of having somebody like you on the channel for people. They can kind of see the experience that you use for yourself. Take some of that for them if they're in a position to either build another company out somewhere else, maybe they're franchising out, or if they're just starting out in the beginning phases. So, and I know Reno. I don't know. Did we hit the $1 million run rate? We actually haven't.
We
You're close.
we were very close. I mean, if any of my guys in Reno are watching this, I'm so proud of those guys. At the end of 2021, we were at $160,000. We had a pickup and a dump trailer. We have 3 dump trucks, 10 employees, a sales rep, a manager, and we closed out right around 700 for the year.
Okay. That's still really good, man. I mean, 100K to 700K. Now you guys absolutely will be at $1 million this year.
I, knock on wood. I think it's extremely attainable. I think just the contracts we have alone are almost going to get us there. So.
Now I'm putting it out there. We're doing it. We're definitely. and keep in mind too, that's with you leaving the location.
Yeah.
Which is it's a huge transition, like you were not available at that location for the last quarter, essentially.
Yeah.
Q4. I do think you guys would have hit it if you were there in Q4.
I think so too.
But that's not a knock on your guys on Reno. They're fantastic.
No, not at all. I mean,
as a business owner, it's hard to truly replace what you bring to the table, but Blaine and those guys do a great job.
Blaine, Nick, Zach, all the guys that we got working out there, they're absolutely killing it. We're actually adding to our crew right now. And I really hope the guys that are out there stay with us for a long time because they're the backbone of our company 100%.
Absolutely. I mean, you can only go so far alone. I think that's another point to touch on, especially if you're attempting to scale to a certain point, no matter what your business is, like the way that you treat your employees goes such a long way. Like if they're not happy, guys, they're only going to give you so much, right?
Yeah.
And they're so important to what you're trying to accomplish, especially if they're in front of the customers and, these different aspects, or maybe they're doing sales like your guy is for sales. I mean, no matter what the role is, you really want to find, number one, the right people. And when you find the right people, keep them there, treat them well. And you've done a great job of that out in Reno. And I know Lexington, you'll build out the same way. So for the sake of time, this has been great so far. I think let's touch on to kind of wrap up. What's your goal for 2023? I'd love to hear that. And it could be for both locations. What do you have in mind for this year?
Our goal for 2023 in Reno, now that our sales rep is fully up and ripping, he knows exactly what he needs to be doing. And with the agreements we already have in place, we're looking at 1.6 million this year is our goal out there. Lexington, just with the contractor's license and everything else doing demo, I really think we might be able to hit 1 million out here. Obviously, set your goals small just so you hit them. I think that we're realistically shooting for around 600,000 out here this year. And just with the last quarter we've had, I think it's absolutely attainable.
Yeah. And actually you make a good point on that with goals. I'll touch on that real quick before we wrap up with the last question. I think you should set a goal that's not super unrealistic.
Yeah.
But somewhat unrealistic, because if you set your goal too low, you're going to get comfortable with just hitting that goal. And you may actually set yourself back on what you could have actually accomplished. So for instance, in 2021, when you're at 100K, thinking about 1.6 million would have seemed like impossible.
I honestly would have thought 700,000 was impossible, man.
Yeah. So
Looking back at it.
imagine if you would have set your goal at 300K.
Yeah.
You may have gotten complacent around the time that you were on track for 300K. Whereas if you had set your goal, to 800K or 900K, you're still going to have that drive to continue to reach that goal. So I feel like goal setting is really important to, set something that is obviously somewhat realistic, but actually almost somewhat unrealistic to kind of stretch yourself out of your comfort zone and what you're looking to accomplish.
Right.
I think that's something that's, really important. You don't want to set your goal too low.
Yeah.
But outside of that, last question I have for you, what's a mistake that you made that others could avoid? And it's something that you're like, man, I'll never want to do this again. Or maybe it's a mistake that you kind of made and you're like, I'm glad I made this mistake because it learned me a valuable lesson. Either or is fine.
Okay. A big mistake. Cash flow is the most important aspect of any business. If you do 100,000 and you don't have the cash flow to support a big purchase, or maybe you get a huge job and you don't have money in the bank to fund it, that is the biggest shot in the foot. I mean, it is like, and I learned this a lot this year, we're reinvesting so much in the company. We're trying to keep up with everything. And, you look at the numbers that you're bringing in, and then you look at the numbers in the bank account and you're like, well, we're low and we're not getting checks for another 30 days from our commercial accounts. I think cash flow is huge. Do not buy everything in cash. Put it on a credit card. A lot of people are probably going to disagree with me with that. But that's huge. The other thing too is, just when you're a business owner, there's so much other stuff going on in your life. And the biggest thing for me is finding that balance. I'm in the office from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. I'm really trying to cut back on that, get back into my hobbies, get back into doing the stuff I love to do, because you get burnt out. And you got to think, like, especially if you're a young guy like me, if you're 40 or you're 50 or whatever, you're getting into this business, there's no point in making all this money if you look back and say, I have no friends, I have no hobbies, I have nothing. So just finding that work life, personal life balance is huge. I actually started leaving my laptop at my office. I don't even bring it home with me. That's helped a lot, but yeah, that's the biggest thing. The only other thing I would say is make sure you're keeping track of every invoice you sent. If you deposit a check, somewhere in the notes on the invoice, especially when you get to having a bookkeeper, put that check number on the notes so that when she looks at it, she can look at the bank account and say, hey, this check went with this invoice, this check went with this invoice. Just basically doing preventative stuff that seems silly. The more you do up front, the less work you're going to have to do in the back. So,
dude, those are huge, especially the work-life balance. I'm glad you brought that up because I actually should do a video on that myself. That is something really important that I think as you grow as a business owner, it's almost the negative to success, in my opinion, because you kind of lose your way. And I think everyone goes through this. A lot of successful business owners that I've been around and been fortunate enough to be around notice the same thing. You will get burnt out. You cannot go full on work with no life balance. And quite frankly, and I don't know if you've noticed this yet, but I have for myself, and everybody's different. But I feel like when I finally started to figure that out and separated and gave myself life and had work, I was actually better with work and made more money with less time invested in work.
Yes, and that's a great point. I mean, another huge thing for me to realize is no matter how hard you work, no matter how much work you put in, there's a very good chance you're not going to see results from that for some time. So for me, I'd be sitting in my office at 7 p.m. pounding my fist on the desk. Like, why the hell do I not have this business? Why do I'm working so hard? Where's all my business? And really just getting in a routine is another huge thing. Like, for example, I schedule all my meetings in the morning. I check my email in the morning, and then I get all my busy work done from like 10 to 12, grab a bite to eat, and then the whole rest of the day is networking for me. Whatever I don't finish, I finish another day and I move on. And just that alone has helped so much, because if you sit there and you're anxious and you're just panicking about it, you're going to get burnt out and you're going to start thinking about quitting. And when you start thinking about quitting, that's a really, really powerful thing. Because you start to talk down on yourself. Maybe your loved ones are telling you maybe this isn't such a good idea. So just finding that, like you said, that balance, like 5 o'clock hits, cool. I got a project car in the garage. I'm going to go work on it. Or, I want to hang out with my girlfriend. I want to hang out with my wife. I want to hang out with my kids. That's more powerful than anything.
It is. And it can help feed the business, because if you're happy, you will bring problems into your work life. Like I always say, there isn't really business problems. It's personal problems that are brought into business.
Yes.
More often than not. So the happier that you are, the happier your business will become. The people that you're around, your customers, they can tell when you're drained, when you don't have energy, when you're not happy.
Yeah.
They can tell those things. So, you really need to put personal health just as high as business, because they're attached. They're connected. So, man, you dropped some golden nuggets in this one. And it's funny because I think a lot of the stuff that we talk about as business owners aren't like, there's no secret strategy here, that somebody's missing. A lot of times it's just the process and the basics and focusing on those things and learning along the way. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you've made tremendous growth from the time that you and I started working together to now. Obviously, you've learned a lot. I've learned a lot in the time that we've worked together, and we're going to continue to get better. Yeah. I think you're building something really cool. I don't know how many locations we have in the future, but I think it's going to be more than 2. But I hope everybody really enjoyed this. For those who are starting out, in the middle, or maybe looking into building another location like Hunter has. Hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Hunter, you have any final words?
I'll just say, and Blake's not paying me or anything to say this, just a huge testimonial. I mean, if you have any type of doubts about your marketing guy, if you have anything and you ask them straightforward questions and they cannot give you a straightforward answer, it's time to talk to someone else. I had a guy I thought was doing all this work for me on SEO, Google Ads, everything. While he's a great guy, I just wasn't getting the results. I finally made the switch to Blake in mid 2021. And from January to when I started with him in June, we only had $40,000 worth of business. That other 120 came in that last 6 months from working with him. The other thing too is, as a business owner, you really have to know where you're allocating your time and where you're really putting your focus in, because you can work 60 hours a week, but none of it's productive. So make sure you know that, and just making sure you have people on your side like Blake. His whole team is phenomenal. Finding anything, I reach out to him right away. He's on it. And, I trust that he's doing everything in the best interest of my business. Granted, our calls have gotten to the point where we don't even talk about really anything. We're just, just talking and about each other's lives and everything like that. But, building relationships and like I touched on in the beginning of the video, marketing is not something that works right away. It really takes time for everything to kind of grab traction, reviews, everything like that's all very important. So, thank you, Blake, very much. I dedicate a lot of my success to you and your team 100%.
Appreciate it. Can't wait for somebody to say that I paid you to say that one. But all jokes aside, man, I've said this before, and I'll say this for everybody in the channel. You have to be willing to work hard, and we can't do it for you as our team. It's a double-sided thing, and Hunter works his ass off. That's why he's so successful. So, the success that we've had, it's not like we caused his success. He worked hard. We helped build. And that's where teams work the best. You have to have 2 people who are like-minded that work hard together and are really focused. And Hunter has worked hard. And for anybody who does join us, I can tell you without a shadow of doubt, if you can work as hard as Hunter, we will find a way to be successful. I can promise you that. But, I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. I think Hunter dropped some really important stuff. You may even want to go back and re-listen to some of it, because I think he really nailed on some great topics. Thanks everybody for watching, and thanks Hunter for hopping on.
Hey, thanks so much, Blake. You have a good one, man.
Thanks, man.